Feeling sad about going home, Beau? Must feel totally unreal.
I'm supposed to be leaving.
I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Ari Aster is back with another movie from A24, and oh boy, this is a doozy. Okay, so I've enjoyed Ari Aster's previous work, like Hereditary. I thought was really good. Midsummer, well, I didn't think it was as good as Hereditary. I still thoroughly enjoyed it. Now he's back with another film. This is his third film. And this time, he has about a budget of, I think it was like $40 million or something like that. Where compared to Hereditary and Midsummer, those were like almost into the 10 million. Like almost, not quite, but almost. So A24 gave him a lot of money for this. And this is quite a trip. I don't think as quite a trip as Midsummer was, because that was pretty much a drug movie. But it is a trip. So this movie was originally going to be called, I think it was Disappointment Boulevard, but they changed it to Beau is Afraid. So the movie stars Joaquin Phoenix, and he plays a man named Beau, who it's revealed later on that he had a little issue when he was younger with his mom, but he lives in pretty much a very decrepit part of town where it's one of those times where I look at it and go like, yeah, I don't think this would ever be a thing. I don't think anyone would live here. I mean, he lives literally like there's like a whole bunch of mentally ill people running around. People almost every day are getting stabbed, and I'm like, why don't you move? Like, why don't you move? And it's revealed later, but besides the point, he's going to go visit his mom. But due to certain circumstances, then I'm going like, yeah, I'm sorry, I would not be in this situation because I would not live there. He ends up losing his ticket and has to basically go almost on foot to go visit his mom. And it is quite a journey. It is quite an adventure, I guess. I think Ari Aster quoted to say, like, he thinks that this is like the Jewish Lord of the Rings. And I'm like, sure. Because I'm going like, yeah, it's not as, I don't think it's as, like what is going on like Lord of the Rings was. But, you know. So, yeah, this is just a weird, crazy movie. It's one of those movies where I don't see this ever getting, there's no sequel. And I also like that. I like how Ari Aster's films, they're very cut and dry. They're A plus B equals C. There's no extra things that need it. It's all there. We don't need to come back to this world. We don't need to come back to these characters. It's like, here's the story from beginning to end. That's it. We don't need to know anything after that. With this, I will say this. This was very, very long. This is a very long movie. And compared to his other films, like Hereditary, I think was like 2 hours, maybe 2:15, something like that. Midsummer, I think was at 2.5. This is like 3. This is like 3 hours, and I'm like, oh. So I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I don't mind longer films, like 3 hours long. I don't mind those. But what happens is if they don't have enough stuff to keep me entertained and keep me, focused on everything else, on what they're doing, then I just start losing interest and going like, okay, I'll look back up when they move on to something. And that happened, I think, once or twice in this movie. And I will say this, there are some stuff that could have easily been cut or stuff that could have easily been trimmed. And the pacing, I think, would have been a little bit better. That's another problem, is the pacing is pretty slow. Even though they're showing you all this crazy stuff, it's pretty slow. So there will be times where you're just kind of going like, checking your phone or your watch, where you're just like, all right, come on. Like, how long has it been? Because it feels like they're plotting for time, but they're not really, but that's how it feels. And I will say this, that Joaquin Phoenix's performance was amazing. I think if he committed, I know he did his own stunts in this. He absolutely committed to this character. And man, I think if it was somebody else, it wouldn't be as good. And I will say this, I did like this movie. I did like it. It's just that the 3 hours, it definitely felt like it. It could have easily, parts where it had been trimmed or cut. The pacing, pretty slow, but I don't mind slow-paced films, but if they're slow-paced mixed with 3 hour long movie, then that's when I start going like, all right, come on, guys. You gotta keep moving. You need to be the hare on this incident. You can't be the tortoise. Just don't get distracted, please. It is very, very imaginative, or whatever word you want to use. It doesn't feel like a horror movie. I mean, there's some like horror moments in there, but yeah, it's more of watching this guy go through an adventure that that can't explain. And I feel like at times it was during this movie where I'm going like, did someone accidentally like put something in my water? Like, did I take something accidentally before watching this? Because there are times where I'm going, what is happening? Like, what is this? What am I watching right now? Mainly at the third act, when they do something and they show something that was just like, what was that? And I even had to go on Wikipedia and make sure that I saw it right. And yeah, I was right. And it's like, okay, this is definitely a movie that will never, no one else is going to make another movie like this. And that's also something that Ari Aster does, is that he's interested in making films that aren't for the masses. Alongside, like with A24, they don't care about reaching out to the masses. They more care about just making films that speak to certain audiences. And Ari Aster is very much one of those filmmakers that does that. Like Hereditary. You can make a story about grief and dealing with it all you want, but I don't think anyone's going to make a movie quite like that. With Midsommar, yeah, you can make that is pretty much a horror film, but just bright and sunny. But the horror is literally right in front of your face, and you're like, okay, even though it's bright in the sun, there's not a whole lot of nighttime scenes, it's still horrific. This film, I think does a really good job at, you know, I mean, Beau is a character. He's constantly like the title says, is afraid. He's afraid of letting people down. He's afraid of the outside world, which, you know, he's got a point to that one. But you can understand why, and you want this character to eventually get to where he wants to go, because there are so many parts in this where I'm going like, oh my God, like I don't like this. I hate this character. I don't like any of this. Not Beau specifically, but like everything around him. And and then when it hits the end, I was like, what? That's the end? I was like, well, that's kind of a slap in the face. I'm not going to say what it is, but it kind of does. To conclude, I know a lot of people that hate the 3 hours. I know a lot of people that didn't like this movie, and I understand it. But me personally, you know, I like these weird and crazy stuff, but, you know, it definitely was dragging a little bit. I don't think this is as good as, I would say, Hereditary or Midsummer. If I had to put these in like a order of which ones I liked more from Esther, it'd be Hereditary, Midsummer, and then this one. But that's just me personally. So this is a film definitely not for everyone. Not everyone's gonna like this, and it did bomb in the box office, but that happens too. So I personally, I think maybe an average, because every time when I was thinking about something good, it was going up to great. But every time when I was thinking about like the pacing and then the length and how many people I hated in this movie, it went back down to average. So it was doing like a flip-flop act. And yeah, so I still thoroughly enjoyed this movie. And like I said, not everyone's going to like this, but that's why we're human. We each have our own different tastes on things.
Why did you lie to me?
Do you want the truth now?